Hi, it's Michelle from Movement Lesson. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, but I'm about to do a whole functional anatomy course, structure and functional movement. This will tie into it. I'll be doing lessons around anatomy so you get to know not only how your body works, but how the body works and what happens when there's issues. I really work around vision. Vision is a muscle, but it's also functional. And muscles are meant to respond to movements, but the eyes are a little bit different because due to the muscle function, they also create movements, and also it's the only organ, if it doesn't work properly, tries to turn itself off because the brain can't handle the visual complexities or the disorganization or dysmorphic vision, however is your vocabulary around it, and brain function. So it wants to limit it. Whereas if I don't use my pinky now for the next 30 years and decide to go use it again, it will be there. You can't have any other body part that I know of that if you don't use it, you lose it. You do get soft, you do get those kind of things uncoordinated, but the eye will try and shut itself off. And if you don't catch it, especially in munchkins, so I'll be covering how vision affects a child or can affect a child and their development, because also you can't create milestones if you can't initiate the movements. If the vision isn't in sync with your body, we're going to have these issues. But also I have people that have trauma, either to the eye, to the brain, to the body, whatever, where vision gets off sync or out of whack, however, again, your vocabulary is, and creates issues that way. So just relax, find a nice place. Don't do this with driving. But anyway, you're just going to feel your eyes in the head. When a baby first comes into this world, I believe, and this is where I'm going to follow up with my anatomy course, so keep me posted if you're interested in doing functional anatomy with me. But a baby doesn't see when it is first born for a reason. Yes, the eyes function, but that doesn't mean that it sees. So I believe that the filaments are there to neuromap. So all of my movements here, whether the eye is open, which is going to be harder for you to first get this as an adult, so I'm closing my eyes at the moment, but I'm here just to expose that gelatinous material, what's called an eye, to just exist within space, gravity, opposition, and my body. So I'm just here experience. Just imagine, even if you have to go to one eye, in your mind's eye, that you have a bowl with a little bit of soft tissue or water, and inside it is your eye. And what happens, and again I'm going to show you this in the anatomy bit, that those filaments respond in a counteraction to every movement that's done in your body. And this counteraction is done in a binocular sense, in not binocular vision, but a binocular experience within the human body, and that creates part of your equilibrium in your absolute horizon. Now, as a body becomes more complex, then you go into an absolute vertical, and then you'll be able to go in and out of that, very similar to an X and Y plot graph, but more three-dimensional, not linear. There are no linear parts within the human body. So I'm just going to sit there and just lightly tilt my head. For those of you that can only handle the imaging or the complexity of one eye, or maybe as well want to experience one eye experience versus two, experience within the right and left quadrant, but also consider doing the cyclops, meaning bringing one eye to your midline, your central nervous system, and feel what that's like to move that around. Now, what'll be interesting with that, note that the eardrum goes also with the eye, but that'll be coming later. So as I'm moving and just feeling, so I'm just going to move my head a little up, a little down, Notice that my movements are very, I wouldn't say short, but very slow. But I think of movement, even my touch, like ocean, where the water comes up, kind of hangs out, and then goes back, that kind of tempo. And as you're doing that now, I want to start bringing in some aspects of the body. So as my eye wants to tilt to the right, what needs to happen is my body counters to the left. Now, I'll be teaching you in the functional movement part that all babies counter any ocular movement with a counter body movement. Now, you and I don't have to do that, or it's very subtle that we don't pay attention. But a baby, if they typically need to look to the right, let's say, or respond to stimuli, meaning that doesn't mean they have a vision to the right, then the left side's going to have to react. Now, instead of necessarily counterbalance right now, I'm going to do it a little bit in counter opposition. So as I'm just lightly, again, don't look, I don't want eye muscles used. You're just experiencing the gel of the eye, and you're going to lightly press in with the left foot into the ground as when you go to the right. And I want you to notice, are you using eye muscles? Do you feel your eye just hanging out, sort of like filling the back of the eyeball, or do you try to squint? But it's just a nice little synchronized movement. Are you having issues synchronizing it? And if you are, go smaller. Just think of going to the right, and now you just think about the left foot. But the reason we're doing this lesson is for you to start synchronizing the foot. Now, I'm noticing again more of the maxillaries, which is the sinus cavities. Again, we'll learn that more later. And also I feel much more aware of your ear, my ear. Now forget the feet and just go back to moving the head around. Now I want you to go over to the left and just notice, because we didn't hook up the foot just yet on the right side, versus going over to the right. If you just feel that little bit of a sway in your pelvis maybe to counter your head movements. And now we're going to do the same with the left, as I'm going to lightly press in my left foot. Now notice sort of what I'm doing is I'm actually just tilting through the pelvis, creating more contact with the right foot versus pushing in. But both moves are valid. And now I'm going back to where it's just a tilt of the pelvis. And honestly, if you're just watching me there, it should look like I'm hardly doing anything. Notice that I'm not sitting here right foot, left foot in, doing like almost like we'll work up to that, because that would be running, that would be lots of functional movements. Everything that I do in movement lesson, everything, how I touch someone, when I'm doing something, is always with a functional movement. I'm not just taking my eye and saying, look to the right, look to the right, look to the right. I'm doing this how the body would naturally work within the system. I shouldn't say look to the right. Let's say a more obvious one, lifting just the hand up and down. Yes, I know I'm capable of doing that. That's not a functional movement. In movement lesson, I would be doing more throwing a punch. And we're going to get into that a little bit with this eye. Now for some of you, this might be enough. Go back to just feeling your eyeballs. And as you move, can you feel that buoyancy? If I take, let's say, a ping pong ball in water and let it float, there'll be a certain buoyancy. Note 2 was as difficult. If it was difficult, you also have issues like lower back pain when you're driving a car, because a lot of this comes in quite handy when you're driving. You don't realize how you're pressing a gas pedal, let's say, or riding a bicycle or something like that, where you want to, let's say, fix the vision versus just let the eyeballs just float around. For those of you who could only do one eye, this would be the time to pause and then do the other eye. Or do it, within the day, I would say. Don't work on one side of the eye and not work on the other side of the eye in general. We'll get to that later in a, quote, patching kind of operation, but until you have a good, strong evaluation. Now, those of you that do another modality, then the answer, yeah, you do one side then the left. But if you don't have someone that's done a proper movement evaluation on you, don't do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. And just feel your eyeballs. I'll see you in a few days for the next one. Please like or subscribe my channel. The more I know that this works for you, the more I do videos and try and offer you information that help and support your continued learning. Thanks for watching Movement Lesson.